This is my response to the assignment active listening. So the first question I'll be answering is, why is listening important to you? Um, I believe that any good yapper, any good talker should be a good listener. Should be an equally good listener. I think we learn a lot from just shutting our mouths sometimes and just listening to others sometimes. Um, Nobody on this earth knows it all, and we learn from just listening to others' advice and wisdom. Looking at it from the other side, so looking at it from our side, from your side, I also just do appreciate when people are good active listeners. Just for me, sometimes it's just nice just to talk to someone and just have someone to listen to what you have to say. They don't have to even answer your questions or just respond. I think that sometimes just getting some words out and just getting some things out or just trying to communicate with someone can just generally be very impactful on you. Next question I'll be answering is, provide an example when your active listening prevented miscommunication. Um, I feel like I usually am a pretty good listener. I like to believe that I'm a very active listener as well. My memory has always been pretty good, and I have always been that guy who kind of remembers just like the little unimportant details of things. However, a time when my active listening has prevented possible miscommunication would be, I'd say, there have been multiple times with just work at Menards. I work in the electrical department there, the lighting section, and sometimes it can be hard to communicate with all the members within the department just about scheduling. Um, so this past week it was my turn to work this weekend. So this weekend that we just had, but one of my coworkers was actually scheduled. We usually alternate weekends, and technically it was my turn to work, but he was scheduled. So I told him I would work it. So it got approved for me to work that weekend. However, the assistant manager that was working with me this weekend was not notified that there was a change in the schedule. So after I was leaving work last night, Saturday night, I heard that, oh, the assistant manager said that, oh, see you tomorrow, Colin, which is my coworker, which that's the person I switched with. And then I quickly corrected him, saying, oh wait, we switched the schedule. It's gonna be me, not Colin, working. So I think that was just a easy way to just use some active listening skills, just knowing that, okay, maybe he wasn't notified that I was working instead of my coworker. And I think that was just a good way to avoid just some miscommunication. So that was resolved, and I think that everyone just betters from just listening to people and actually just taking the time to listen. Um, so the next question I'll answer is, are there times where listening is not important? Um, I feel like there's not many circumstances that listening is not important at all. I'd say the main thing that comes to mind when I think of this question would be if the content that you're listening to is not positive. Possibly being bullied or harassed verbally would be a good time just not to listen, just to shut them out. You cannot listen to hate speech. You can't just sit there and take, verbal abuse. So, and also sometimes you're just not mentally able to listen to things anymore. There might be some days you're just mentally drained. Next question I'll answer is, describe a time where you used a door opener and what was it? Um, so going back to work, I think I use door openers quite often when I'm at Menards. Customers sometimes do not know how to describe what they're looking for. I usually go with something along the lines, quote, tell me some things about your project you're working on. I think this is the door opener that opens up the window for customers to ask questions that they might have been afraid of asking and approaching me to ask. I think a lot of customers usually do not want to bother employees, or they think they're bothering employees by asking questions, but I personally like talking to people, and I don't really ever shy away from answering a question, even though it might be a question I'm not even capable of answering. I just enjoy talking to people, so I think it just makes it easier on people, customers, when I approach them. I'm the one approaching them, asking, okay, do you need some help? Obviously, it looks like you might be lost. Do you need some help? So I think I try to do that as much as possible. Um, Next question I'll answer is, where you currently work or have worked, what was management's relationship with active listening towards their employees, and in return, motivation from their employees regarding work? Um, so where I work, there are 6 total members of the electrical department. Where I work, the lighting department, and there's 2 managers, as more, like a department manager and assistant manager. And I believe that communication is something that, as a group, we can work on for sure. Everyone in our department seems to have different availability, and it can be challenging sometimes to just balance everyone's schedule and when everyone can be there and everyone cannot be there. However, um, although there are struggles sometimes with communication, That does not mean that the managers are not listening to us. They do not do listen to everyone in the department. It is just sometimes genuinely hard to hand over on schedule and just accommodate for everyone's schedule. But for the most part, they do try their best to accommodate everyone's schedule and they're just the requests. So I think that does motivate us as a team to just work harder, just earn that trust and respect from our management that, okay, maybe I can trust this person to work these days, or maybe they deserve these days off. So I think that goes hand in hand, just kind of like that trust you earn. So, and the last question I'll answer today is, when have you experienced information overload when actively listening? I just say sometimes during school. I think at the end of the day, I try to be the best student as possible, and when you're really locked in class, when you're really trying to take notes, just when you're really trying to listen, it sometimes can be hard. Sometimes you're experiencing too much information in your head. I'd say the main class that does it for me is probably accounting. Accounting is very confusing for me. There's just a lot of different steps, and math I feel like has never came super easy to me, and it's a lot to do with math, numbers, money, and there's just a lot of different steps you have to get right, and you have to get pretty much every step right to get a perfect answer, which is struggling. It's just generally struggling. So I think that sometimes listening to accounting, sometimes all the rules and all the steps you have to take can just kind of be overstimulating, just overloading information for sure. But that is something I think that is sometime I've experienced information overload.